instituting the highest level of economic sanction. Any nation that helps Iran in its quest for nuclear weapons could also be strongly sanctioned by the United States. America will not be held hostage to nuclear blackmail. We will not allow American cities to be threatened with destruction.
President Trump sounding defiant as he announced he was pulling the U.S. out of the Iran nuclear deal. Says it's a campaign promise, but defies the advice of the leaders of Great Britain and Germany and France. Dr. Jeff Engel, director of the Center for Presidential History at SMU, to kind of put it into perspective. It was a campaign promise. He did get elected, so people knew this might be coming down the pike.
Oh, there's no doubt about it, and that's clearly one of the reasons that Donald Trump did this. Just like with the Paris Accord, he has been very clear about the fact that he wants to do the things that he promised. Now, what's interesting is that he wants to do the things he promised despite the advice of many of his own key advisors. I mean, take the Iran nuclear deal as a great example. I mean, we've had the new Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo, and the Secretary of Defense, and the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff all say, A, we think that this is actually not a good deal to pull out of because of the international ramifications, but secondly, and most importantly, Iran is following the deal. So there's a sense in which Iran is not breaking the deal. The United States here is breaking the deal and thereby breaking its word to the international community.
And yet President Obama pushed this thing through because it did not have enough support in the U.S. Senate to get ratified as a treaty. So they created this kind of hybrid, weird little thing that became the Iran nuclear deal.
Well, I mean, first of all, this is part of a broader trend in that we're seeing the legislative branch accomplish less and less over time, and so more things getting done through executive action by the president. But more fundamentally, the Iran deal has really become a political litmus test in many ways, in the sense that I can predict with 100% accuracy whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, whether you like the bill, or like the Iran deal or not. And I've never met anybody who's actually read it. I mean, the whole point is that this is only something that our political leadership is telling us on a tribal fashion we need to care about on the left or on the right. And I really wish people would take a step back and not consider it for political terms, but consider it for what it does in the international scene.
Why is it a good deal in the eyes of Great Britain and France and Germany and China and Russia, and not in the eyes of the United States? What's bad about it in the eyes of in the eyes of President Trump?
I think what's bad about it in the eyes of President Trump is that it actually appeals, the deal appeals in the opposite way. His domestic base does not like this deal, in large part because his domestic base is supportive of Israel, which does not like this deal, and in many ways supportive of Saudi Arabia, which does not like Iran. The real problem is that if the entire international community, and we could have had the United Nations, we could add Australia, we could add basically every other functioning governing body in the entire world likes this deal, not because it's perfect. Nobody suggests it's perfect, but no deal is perfect. But it essentially keeps the Iranians from moving forward until such time as perhaps they can join the international community. But what Donald Trump has done is essentially said, we're going to isolate you and make it harder for you to participate in the world as a way to keep you from doing something that you already were not doing.
So Iran cannot deal business-wise with American companies. So Iran, instead of buying an airplane from Boeing, they're going to buy an airplane. They're going to buy it from Airbus based in Europe.
Oh, there's no doubt that this is bad for American business. It's bad for American business because we are threatening to sanction other countries, especially our European allies, if their companies do things. And this is in the middle of a period where we already have trade disputes. It's also going to be bad for American consumers. I mean, when you and I go to the gas pump this week and pay more for our gas, this is exactly why.
And does Kim Jong-un in North Korea look at this deal and say, wait a minute, if I sign a deal with the United States, in 2 years, does it go away?
I think that's the real concern. But there's a bigger question here, which is that the reason that we were able to get North Korea to come to the table in many ways, even with Donald Trump's hard rhetoric, was because we had everybody on the same page in the international community. We got countries to impose sanctions and stayed with them. We got countries basically to allow us to lead, if you will. In this case, we're running in the opposite direction from the international community. So as you pointed out, Iran may be perfectly comfortable not dealing with us and not dealing with Israel and not dealing with Saudi Arabia because they have the Germans and the Russians and the Chinese.
Who have plenty of money.
And like to spend it.
Yep. All right. Thanks, Dr. Jeff Engel.
Good to see you.